Hi, everybody. Alan York here as we come to you from parts here, left, right, east, west, as we fight through this COVID-19 pandemic. And we're pleasure to be joined by football strength coach Dominic Studzinski. And Dominic, it goes without saying, unprecedented times for really everybody around the world. What's the last couple of weeks been for you as you've tried to navigate through this with the football team?
Absolutely. Really, it's been reaching out to other people, reaching out to our resources here on campus first, but then reaching out to other people across the country to see what we can and cannot do, how we can best still service our kids. Because truly, I'm in the service industry. I'm here to help service the coaches, but first and foremost, the athletes. So, what can we do during this time to get them the best available resources so that they can continue to do what is needed in our realm? So, speed, strength, and conditioning. Uh, this still must go on in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, safety has to be number one. So, we want our kids to be safe. We want them in a good situation. But everybody's own personal resources at home are different or here are different. So, for us, it's been communicating and communicating like crazy. That's one of our key principles that we talk about with the kids, and is communication. So it's been a ton of over communicating during this time with everybody involved, just to see what we can and cannot do, what resources we have available to get to the kids, what resources the kids have available, so that we can best service them through programs, through communication, whatever it may be.
And technology is a beautiful thing. We're using this to video conference you. And what have been those modes of communication with the student athletes? And just take us in some of those emotional conversations you've had with them. And you talk about doing what we can, what we cannot do. Bottle that up and what that communication has been like for you.
Absolutely. So our first line of communication that we had with the kids was just via text, via email. We were trying to get them out as much resources as possible. And then from there, we took those resources and we took our communication to the next step, calling them, FaceTiming them, trying to set up meetings similar to this that were allowed to make sure that the kids understood the information that we were trying to get to them. So programming is one thing, getting them out programs to make sure they're conditioned, to make sure that they're still sprinting and working on speed mechanics, but then also finding different modalities, whether you have a home gym, if you have access to a gym, if you have access to a field, or if you're just straight up can only stay indoors, to try and find some creative ways to make sure that these kids still are getting stress on their body, stress that is needed during this time, so that when they come back, they have some type of semblance of the stress that we're about to put on their bodies. That's our communication through FaceTime, our communication through these platforms has been crucial. Now, you know, as well as I do here on campus, we have platforms that we're already affiliated with. So this Microsoft Teams has been one way that we're able to communicate with the kids, communicate with the coaches, via these small conversations.
As we kind of look at the communication you've had with the student athletes, Dom, these workouts right now that each kid has come up with are voluntary. They're not mandatory. When you know that going into these workouts, can you supply them with a blueprint of this is what we need you to be doing in this time away from each other?
Absolutely. So we've supplied them with workouts, and some of it is specific to their own setting, their own situation. Obviously, you got kids that need specific programming, so you're allowed to send that stuff out. We have a huge general program for everybody. So there's two main programs. The first main program is if you have access to a field and or if you have access to a gym. Some kids, it's phenomenal. They have home gyms. Kids have resources at home that are phenomenal, that are better than some gyms that are across the country. So they've got some great things, some great resources where they can still get in some good work. Other kids don't have that. And we put up a video library of exercises, and we use some odd objects, some suitcases, some backpacks, some different things, kind of thinking outside the box to provide them with some type of resistance so that they're still getting in some stress put on their bodies. Some stress is still put on their body. So for us in our realm, it's speed, strength, and conditioning. So we have to make sure that we're working on all three facets as much as we can. we don't want the speed quality to go away. That's the first quality that's going to kind of diminish the fastest. So we're stressing to the athletes, while you're at home, work on your speed, work on your speed mechanics. If you've got a street, if you've got a sidewalk, if you've got a grass patch in your backyard, if you live in a cul-de-sac and you've got a little bit of area to get out and run, whatever it may be, if you're lucky enough and blessed enough to be able to get to a field, please do get out there and make sure that you're running. And if you're around each other, if you're close to each other, if you live near each other, or if you have some friends that are in a similar situation. So say you live in South Carolina, or if you live in Florida and you've got some guys that you went to high school with, and those guys are in a similar situation. Heck, go out with each other and run with each other. Use this program or use their program, whatever was supplied to them, or vice versa, to get out there and make sure that you're staying active during this time and stressing the points that we want you to stress, i.e. the speed mechanics, making sure that you're getting out there and maintaining some semblance of conditioning during this time. And again, if you have a facility to get to work on and get in the weight room and get the things that, we've provided to you.
Don, we heard from Coach Freeze a couple of days ago during his media availability, and he talked about the stark difference between spring ball at the beginning last year and this year with the buy-in. And I know it's gut-wrenching that you got 5 workouts in. Some didn't get any in. So
Right.
the difference you've seen in a year from when you took over to now, dive into that, and how much of a stark contrast has that been with the shape and the buy-in from the players from your perspective?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about stress, the stress that was able to be applied and the stress that we had throughout the year. So when you first get here, when I first got here, we were able to assess and see where the kids were at. We kind of laid some of our rudimentary stuff, some of our base ground, general stuff that would be put in during our program last year. And we were able to build off of that. So now going into year 2, you've got some of that built in, and we're able to build upon that. So year 2 is different. The stress is applied not only mentally or physically, but mentally as well. So year 1, you look for buy-in, you look for kids to get out there, and we were able to have some success because we created some buy-in, and that allowed for not just team success, but individual success as well. So that's great. That's good. We're happy for that. But year 2, we want to take the next step, and we're able to do some specific things, have a culture committee, take some guys that are older, take some guys that are younger, and kind of shape, again, not only what their bodies look like, but what their minds look like. We have specific standards that are set in, not just by Coach Freeze, but then also in different realms, so nutrition, athletic training, strength and conditioning. In those areas, those standards must be upheld. And it's good if the coaches are doing it. That's great. But an amazing team, an outstanding team, is really a team that's player led. So we're trying to get those guys to take the standards that we've set forth in year 1 and run with them, and make sure that they're upheld, not only on the field or in the weight room, but in the locker room at home, when they're out there about the town and they're talking and working with other people, that they're being great men of character. Now, I know it's not 100%, and it's always going to be a work in progress, but it's something that year 2 you can definitely dive into and make sure that these kids are making it this program, not our program, but it's their program, because ultimately it is. Again, I'm in the service industry, and I'm here to service the coaches, but not just the coaches. Ultimately, I'm here to service the kids, and I want these kids to have the best experience that they can. We talk about opportunities all the time. I'm not promising wins and losses. We're not promising those things. All I promise is an opportunity. You have an opportunity today to get better, and what you do with today through your nutrition, through your time management, through your time with us, through your communication with people, is going to give you the best opportunity possible for today and tomorrow. And you just start stacking those days on top of each other, and that's when we get positive opportunities. So that's the things. Those are some of the foundational level things that we're trying to communicate with these kids, that we're working with these kids and these athletes. And truly, we were blessed year 1. We had some great kids. And we do have some great kids here, character-wise, and we want those character kids to be able to go out and communicate to the other kids what the standards are and how to hold yourself as a young man. And it's a constant battle. It's a constant thing that we got to work on. But it's what I enjoy doing. I like working with these kids, and it's great to see success. And you love seeing your kids get to the NFL, get to that next level. But to me, it's just as exciting when you see a kid who goes to med school or becomes a dentist or calls you and FaceTime you, and you can see him with his son or daughter and just talks about, hey, coach, I really appreciate the time that you invested in me because of this. Now I'm learning this lesson, or I heard that lesson then, and now it's really staying true to my life as a man, or as a father, as a young professional, whatever it may be. So those conversations later in life are truly what this is about.
You got me excited to go run through a brick wall right now. I hope you know that, Dominic. So if I had eligibility left, man, I'm ready to go. You hear a lot from coaches, especially during the football season. Teams spend more time with the strength coaches than maybe the actual on-field coaches, especially during this time, post-spring through the summer. And now I'm sure there's pressure built up in that to get a team fit to be on the field come fall camp in August. And now it's even a little bit different pressure that you're still having to get these kids to work out voluntarily and you're not with them. Pressure, I think, can be a negative word. Type of opportunity do you see now in this time of digital communication and voluntary workouts to still have that trust built in with these student athletes that they're going to still do things even though you're not with them face to face?
Right. So what we account for right now is that these guys are 17 to 22 years old. Some of them 17 to 23 years old. They're making decisions based on where they're at in their current life right now. And they're at home. Some of them are here. Wherever they're at, they have opportunities every day to make decisions. And some of them are great decisions and some of them are not. It may be a small thing like what you eat or how you sleep, but those opportunities obviously lead to greater opportunities later. For us, we have to account for stress, and we're trying to look at stress all the time. We program, so we're looking at the stress that we're placing on their body, but we also know that football is another stress, okay? So when we're accounting for the stress that's about to come, so when I'm talking about fall camp, I'm talking about summer workouts, we have specific workouts pre those things. So spring ball, spring training, winter training that allow us to get to summer training. Without those training blocks right now, we have to go back and actually account for the stress that's being placed on them right now, i.e. there's no stress. So, or it's low stress, or we just don't know truly because there's no accountability that's put in place because it's all voluntary. We don't truly know what they're doing. Yes, we're asking them to do certain things, but they can sleep in. They can take a day off if they want to. It's out there. I'm asking them to not do that. We're asking them to push, but ultimately when they come back, we have to see where they're at. We're going to have to account for that in our summer training. The coaches are going to have to account for that, and we're going to have to communicate like crazy when it comes to fall camp to make sure that the appropriate amount of stress is placed on these guys. Because if you place too much stress on them and there hasn't been a good foundational base level of stress placed on them on the forefront, then all you're asking for is injury. We don't want that. So we need to make sure that wherever they're at, we account for that level, and then we just progress from there. Because if we start off too fast, too much, too soon, too quick, all you're going to do again is put those athletes in a bad spot. And you may not see it where the body breaks down in the first day, first couple days, first week. It may be months later. And we know that the game of football is months. We're starting in August and you get done in December, January. That's a long period of time in a physical game, a game that is based on collision. So we need to make sure that we account for the stress that is not being placed on the body, but then we also have to make sure that we account for the stress that we're going to place on the body. So for us, we look at practice. We look at the stress that's placed on practice. We're also looking at the stress that we're placing on them. We got to make sure that those things match up. We got to make sure that those things are accounted for, and we have to make sure that those things are communicated. And you can bet that those things will be communicated and that we're going to be talked about. Now, you hit it head on when you said we're blessed that we had 5 practices in. Those guys got some stress placed on them through practice, and we know we're lucky to get in some technical and tactical things, but this long break, it's going to be a while before we get them back and doing those things again. And that's just, again, something we're going to have to account for.
How many conversations have you had with some of your colleagues in this business, and how often have you spent the last 7 days texting with them? Hey, what are you doing here? Hey, here's what we're doing. And how has that helped uh, bridge the gap. Each day gets closer to when we'll be back on the field. I think we're all safe to say that. Just don't know when that's going to be. But how have those conversations helped you emotionally, spiritually, and some of those guys that do what you do in the business?
Absolutely. So it's probably going to be a running joke at some point, but literally every day I call my guys, our staff here, and I'm calling other people, and I'm just saying, what else can we be doing? And it's like every day they're just telling me, well, we're doing it. Or, you know what, I talked to such and such and they're not doing as much, or they're doing this, maybe that's something in the future we're able to do. So we're definitely reaching out to as many people as we can every day to see what they're doing and to see what resources they're getting out to their kids, or to see what's available. And we're kind of, we're asking the questions. I'm reaching out to, again, our people here. So I'm reaching out to our other staffs, our compliance department, just to see what's available, to see what our conference is allowing us to do through the ASUN, allowing us, independently what we can do through our personal conference, but then also nationwide what the NC2A is saying that we can do during this time, just to make sure that we have every resource available to these kids, allowed within the parameters of the policies that are, provided to us.
When you look at the stops you've made in your career, Notre Dame, LSU, Southern Miss, Ole Miss, how have those stops helped mold you into getting this position at Liberty, and your continuing relationship with Hugh, and what that's been like to build that relationship up?
Absolutely. So those opportunities most definitely have helped me mold my professional career, not just professional, but also as an individual. I was super blessed to work for some great people in this field. Coach Jackson, who was at Ole Miss, who's now at South Carolina. Coach Moffitt, who's still at LSU. Coach Mendoza, who's been all over the place. Coach Perry, who's a phenomenal educator as well as a phenomenal strength coach. Coach Cutchlow, who's been in the business for a while, and many others. Those are just naming some head guys, but then also some assistants that have been out there that I've worked with, who are just phenomenal people, phenomenal coaches. Super blessed to be around those people, but those people truly gave me something in this business, along with education, and then also some, infield work, working on the platform. But it was just autonomy. They gave me autonomy. They let me go out there and just be me as a person, but then be me as a professional, and learn from. I tell the kids all the time, you learn from your success and you learn from other success, but you also learn from your mistakes and you learn from other people's mistakes. So I got to learn from them the way that they succeeded, but also the way that they failed, and the things that I wanted to bring to our young men in the future, but also how I succeeded and how I failed during my career thus far. And that's a huge thing. Autonomy was huge during that time, to have those environments, to be around those people and continue to educate with those people, and then continue to educate yourself. I said it before, we're in the service industry. I truly love that. I love helping these young men grow and expand themselves, not only physically, mentally, but then also, again, as a young man. So I'm thankful for those people that I've got to work around, and not just the coaches, but the kids too, because the kids mold you as well. You get to work around some people and some kids that you truly get to see their character come out, and it's not always in a good way, but a negative way. But then you see that thing change throughout their career. Sometimes it doesn't hit during their 3, 4, 5 years that you're with them. It may be 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later, that they come back and they say thank you. But that's why we do it. Is we're here again to service these kids and help these kids become good young men. I'm super thankful for that. I'm thankful for those times. I'm thankful for those people, for those opportunities, because those, again, without those opportunities, I know I wouldn't be in this boat, and I wouldn't have been able to get to where I am at right now, relationally, physically, spiritually, all those things. I mean, it's just a multifaceted thing that I'm super happy and thankful for.
Final thought or two here, Dom. You're about to open up a sparkling new expanded Liberty Football Center, and the hub is going to be your weight room. Share some of us what you've enjoyed about the process, and I'm sure you'd like to show it off to obviously the student athletes, but the fans that may or may not get a chance to see it, what excites you about it right now?
So the weight room itself, throughout this time, this expansion, getting to we worked with Sorinex during this deal for our flooring and also for our equipment. They were phenomenal to work with. They're a great group of people, and they provided us with an outstanding product. But I was able to, throughout my career, go through. This is my third weight room renovation. The university itself here, they were phenomenal in setting us up with a temporary weight room. So they knew that we were going to be in a temporary weight room for over a year, and they set us up with one in our indoor facility that was a great setup. We had 24 racks. We had a bunch of different equipment that allowed us to continue to train our guys in a manner that, again, applied the right amount of stress that we needed during that time. So I'm thankful for that time, but I'm also this facility that we're going to get into. I'm grateful that our kids have this place. The room itself it's a great room. It's a good setup. The square footage of it is better than some places that I've been before. The equipment itself, we asked for some things through Sorinex to personalize and customize some pieces through, again, some learning opportunities that I had in the past, being around other pieces of equipment that I said, we need to make this better. And they were great with it and helped us out and did some things for us that'll ultimately be able to service our athletes better here through the system, if you were so to say, that we run with our guys. And I'm excited. I'd love for everybody else to see it, but before then, I want our guys to see it. So when we get our opportunity to have our hands on them again, I'm gonna be excited for them to come in and just see the thought that we put into it. Because truly, when we were going through this process, when it comes to the flooring, when it comes to the walls, when it comes to the ceiling, when it comes to the HVAC, the equipment, everything involved in this place, we were thinking about the student athlete. We were trying to see what best services them. I mean, everything that we did as a staff, people that I reached out to about the room, other strength coaches, just reaching out to different resources and seeing different places and talking to different equipment companies to see what would be best for our student athletes. And I think we came up with a great product when it comes to our current student athletes, but also our future student athletes through um, recruiting too. So this place is going to be a tool in our toolbox that we can use to service all of those different athletes. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited for them. I'm excited for this opportunity. I'm excited, for our staff as well, who has this tool to use or utilize with our athletes.
I know there's been a lot of downtime, a lot of family time that we're getting back during this time. Domino, for me, I've helped build a tree house for my kids. How about you and your wife and things y'all have done as a family to reconnect during this time of unknown here in the next few weeks?
So actually, my wife and I, we had our first son during spring break, and that was kind of planned. It timed out quite well. So we had our first son, Magnus John Studzinski. He came into this world Tuesday of spring break, which was outstanding time because during that time we knew we were going to have time to spend together, and I could help her be in the hospital with her, so on and so forth. But once we got out of the hospital, we had to kind of get to this time, as in this. How do we say this opportunity that we have presented through this COVID. So we wanted to make sure we were doing as much as we can, as best as we can, to help service the athletes. So you say downtime, which we're getting downtime. Making sure that our assistant strength coaches are getting some time to reconnect with other people, and they're making sure that they're getting time to think about some different things and think outside the box so that we can still service our athletes. But it truly is a game of communication and connection. The people that know me well. I'm not a huge, you look at my iPhone, I'm still surfing with this iPhone SE here, so it's around the iPhone 5 era. I don't value that, but I've been on that phone, I've been on this FaceTime, I've been on this computer more than I've been on, probably in the last year combined in these last couple of weeks. And that, again, it's just to help these student athletes out as much as possible. And again, the kids that know me, the athletes that know me, the coaches that know me, I don't spend a ton of time in front of my desk or at my desk. I'm a person who likes to be up and about. I like to be on the floor. I like to be on the field. I like to be just walking. I like to be running. I like to be out there with the guys and socializing with them and be there for them, just to have, put face out there for them and help them out as much as I can. So this time, it definitely is. It's unprecedented. It's uncharted territory, but it's a new challenge. It's a new opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to do things that we haven't done yet, and kind of scratch into some different things that we haven't done or haven't utilized as much as we have before. So it's been good. It's definitely a blessing in disguise, and it's a challenge that we all get to face together. And it's kind of the motto, the team slogan is tougher together. So if we're working at this thing together, we're working at this challenge and looking at it as another opportunity. I think it's an opportunity that we can overcome or work together to face this adversity. So it's exciting. Again, you see me, I'm excited to continue to do what I do and do what I love and be able to service these athletes in whatever manner it may be presented in. And right now it's presented through technology, or it's presented through remote coaching as much as we can via programs or via just FaceTime or via text or call, whatever it may be. We're trying to do what we can, how we can, to, again, service these athletes.
All right, Dom, appreciate the time. Congratulations on the baby as well.
Thank you.
And stay safe. Glad you're in the position you are at Liberty, serving the Lord, number one, but our student athletes, number two, and the staff. So have a great rest of the week, and we'll catch up with you soon, okay?
Thank you. Okay.